Hello and welcome back. Today what I'm working on is making trees. So I have been continuing to work on our characters and Bagillagers and everything. And so I'm at a point where I need to start creating random various backgrounds. This tree, the one from our opening here on these videos, is the Chir-Ezere tree. I'm taking the drawings that I've created before to recreate this scene to make the background trees here, and I want to make them variable just like I've done with our characters. So here you can see I've got a number of different background trees, and I've saved and started the first one for digital DNA. So I took the background tree and I simply added _DNA and saved it. So here you can see the tree. This came from the background here. Let's see. So you can see there I've turned the picture off and on. So that's the Chir-Ezere, and these are all the background trees. And for each of these background trees I went in and created as close as I could my version of it. Mine's terrible compared to the artist. Let's get into doing the digital DNA version of this particular tree. And as you can see, he's created different types of trees for us, which gives us different species to work with. So that's why this is part one. We're going to do this one tree at least, and then maybe start the next one. So let's get started here. We don't need the Chir-Ezere up there any longer, so I'm just going to get that out of the way. So let's start with our basic core point. Let's go ahead and turn on the grid. And now, oh, that's way too tight of a scale. And let's go to 80 and see how that looks. That's better. So you can see I've used some styles over here. And we will be getting rid of all these because we're going to be making them digital DNA. In order to use digital DNA on the colors, we have to get rid of these styles. You can't use both custom styles on an object and use my digital DNA. So let's just get the tree, what swaying we're going to let it do. Obviously not a lot, because trees don't sway a whole lot unless they're very tall, and this tree is, I would say, medium tall compared to our background images. You can see there's tall trees back behind this tree. This tree is closer to the Chir-Ezere than any of these others, and so that's what we're going to work with. Now, we're going to be changing the trunk, and let's take a look here. Now, I'm going to add some points here because I'm going to allow addition of roots on my drawings here. So, with the grid on though, that's going to be a little weird. Let's turn the grid off for a moment and undo that point, and then let's add some little points here that are going to become root growths in our digital DNA. So let's do this like that. Just add a few extras without really changing the look of the tree. So we go right back to the original. Oh, as you can see, I'm a little off there on my drawing. Because of adding the points, I moved outward a bit there. So, and this should be more right there. And then we've got the foliage in the back. So this is behind everything for this tree. Let's get rid of the Chir-Ezere there. Then we got first set of branches that are in the back of the tree. Then we've got foliage that's in front of that branch and the other foliage. Then we've got another set of branches, and then we've got foliage again for the front, which is very heavy. So as you can see, it's a bunch of basic random drawn shapes. I may have gone a little bit overboard here, but in the front we wanted to cover limbs because that's what Bestman did on the drawing here. He has the foliage quite heavy. In fact, I don't think you see the branches here much at all. So I used some poetic license and added some branches. So you can see how transparent color for the foliage there in the front so that we can see the branches through the foliage. And then I left gaps so that we can see the branches being bare in certain areas, just like real trees. So we're going to be going through and adding bones to affect all of those as the tree can sway left and right. And not everything moves on a tree at once together. So sometimes you want to move a character within its frame, sometimes you don't. But that's where we're going to start from, is right there. So then we're going to want a bone that affects this bottom part of the trunk, and then the next part of the trunk, and the next part of the trunk, and the next part of the trunk. And that brings us to right here. And then we're going to go one more. So there we've got the trunk bones. So let's go ahead and name them. We're going to hit B for bone and select all of these. And we're going to call them trunk. And Moho, being the great program that it is, will name them trunk, and then trunk 2, trunk 3, trunk 4, and trunk 5. So just like that, we've got our bones named. And this one is our move tree, or move character is what I usually call it. It is a character, or puppet. And now we're going to go to foliage back. What we're going to do is do one bone for each of the 3 different foliage. So we got foliage mid, foliage front, and foliage back. So I'm going to add a bone. So we're going to go back to the bone layer now. And we're just going to add a bone. Let's move over 4 squares, and that'll be our back foliage, our mid foliage, and our front foliage. And then we've got our 2 branches. So we'll put our branches here and here. So these bones will affect each of those different sections. Let's name those bones so that we know for sure. So these are going to be branches 1, and this is going to be branches 2. Oops. And we want to select all of our bones and remove any strength they've got. So you can see they've all got strength. Currently that would affect the tree if we tried to move them. We don't want it to do that. So we're just going to change this to 0. And now we can program each of these properly. Now on the trunk, starting with the space one, we don't want this to move very much. So we're going to go into bone constraints, and we're going to constrain how much this base can move by itself. And I'm going to say just 2 degrees. So -2 to 2. So that's a total of 5 degrees of movement. So we're now at 0. And if we manipulate that bone, we can move it 2 degrees left or 2 degrees right. So you can see that doesn't do much at the bottom of the tree, but you can see already that's affecting the top of the trunk quite a bit there. So the next one I think should be similar. Let's keep the same constraints. In fact, I think on the trunk, let's do it to all of the trunk. So there we go. And then we're going to put constraints on all of it. And it's going to be -2 to 2. Now that's extreme, of course, for the tree. So if you're the animator, you're going to have to control how much you're actually using. But as you can see, oops, that one didn't get it. I'll bet they didn't. Oh, it doesn't do them all if you're selecting them all. It used to do them all at once. I'm going to have to talk to Moho and ask him to fix that. Like, oh, I didn't get the check mark. That's why. That's my fault then. Alright, there we go. And there we go. I did not check the check mark. So there we go. Now we've got it. But so now we can see exactly how much the top of the tree could move with that 2 degrees at each point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the trunk, and these are going to be controlling the bones that follow the trunk. So these are straight here, but when I put the bones over here, they're going to be following the trunk, because we don't want to change the personality of the trunk. So now we're going to go back and we're going to start adding, but we're going to use the base bone, and then we're going to add, and we're going to add the first bone for the base of the tree. And now we don't want, actually, let's turn that off. We don't want the grid any longer, so we're going to get rid of that for the moment. And then we're going to add our bones. So let's go back. We got selection and add. So we're going to add this bone, then this bone, and this. Oops, I accidentally double clicked there. Number 3 should be about to there. Number 4. And then number 5 takes us up into the top of the tree. And that's pretty close. That second one's kind of short, I think. So let's extend it a little further. And then move the rest up. That's better. So now we've got our bones that are for the actual tree. We're going to constrain them by angle at 100% to the trunk 1. That one for trunk 1. This one for trunk 2. So I'm not changing the personality of the tree, but I'm making it where, oh, whoops. This is 3. I'm making it where the movement is changed no matter how we distort the tree. We're still going to move things the same way. So maybe it'll become clearer as we do it. So again, I'm not an animator. I'm learning all of this as we go. And let's see if that is what I was after. So now, oh yes. So now we can do swaying in the wind for no matter what configuration we cause the trunk to take in our digital DNA. So there we go. And each section of the tree can move a little bit its own direction. So I'm trying to be as natural as possible with that. So now we go to the next bone here. Oops, I didn't mean to move all those. Look at that. Why is that happening? Because I drew them one after the other without changing the parenting. So I'm going to go ahead and do the parenting now on all of these bones. So I'm going to select them all, hit P for parent, and there you can see how they were parented. Then I want to parent them all to the move character bone. And that way when I move the character within its frame, the controls move with it. So it's always going to be relative. Alright, so now we're going to move on to, let's go foliage back. And then foliage mid. And then foliage front. Alright, so now I've got them named properly. I can go to this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a bone from here. So go here to B for bone. And we're going to add, and we're going to go, whoops, I'm not on the bone layer. Got to be on the bone layer. So now I'm going to add a bone, and I'm going to go straight to the left for our foliage back. Go up center for our foliage mid, and then foliage right for our foliage front. So back, mid, front. And then for the limbs, I'm going to put one limb here and one limb there. And so as we move the limbs, they're going to go left and right from their base. So we're going to go to foliage back, and we're going to go to bone, so bind layer, and just bind that whole layer to this bone. And then we're going to do the same for mid. We're going to go to this bone. And then for front, we're going to go to this bone. And then for the branches, one, we're going to go to this bone here. And for branches two, we're going to go to this bone. And so now we're going to go back to the bone layer. Oh, let's B for bone. We're going to select all of these and go to constraints, and we're going to apply constraint, and I hope that is applying to all of them. And we're going to go minus 12 to 12, and that gives us 25 degrees of movement total for each of those bones. So this bone is going to be constrained by the foliage front, right? And then this one is foliage mid. And this one is going to be foliage back, and you can see it's already starting to take effect as I'm adding the effects. And then this one is going to be branches 1. And this one's going to be branches 2. And there we go. Maybe the bottom one shouldn't move at all. Let's take let's take the constraints out of the bottom. Leave it where it doesn't move. And the next one can. So then we get the bottom. Oh, because of the strength. Okay. Let's go to this bone strength. Let's see here. We're going to be on the bone layer. We're going to be on the construction layer. And let's reduce the strength of each of these to just cover the tree trunk. Maybe just a little past. I may regret this later. Let's see if this works better. So let's go to here, and now when we move, that one shouldn't be moving. Oh, because I took off constraints. Well, I need to do constraints but make them tighter. Let's go 0 to 0. That's what I was after. So now the base of the tree doesn't move, and the trunk can if it needs to. These are not following each other here. They're individually activating that section of the tree, but we're no longer getting a snaking effect from the lungs over here because they're all parented to this. So there's our movement of the top. That's a bit extreme. But it's the different foliage and the branches were moving. So we're getting a compounding effect. So we're going to go back over here and see the parenting is all messed up there. So what I need to do is choose each one of these and parent them to there. So this one parents to there, then this one parents to there, and then this one parents to there. So we go back to here, go into animate, and now each section can move by itself. So there we have our animatable tree. We can move the trunk of the tree as needed without making it look like it's ridiculous. So now we need to do our digital DNA. So we need to determine, well, what are we going to affect? Well, we've got each of these different foliages and the branches and then the trunk. So we're going to turn the grid on. And then we're going to add bones by going to the bone layer, construction layer, and then adding bones. And we're going to select this bone first and then add. So the first bone we're going to do is foliage 1, and it's going to rotate quite a bit over, so let's leave a space, and then 2, and foliage 2 or mid, and then back foliage, front foliage, mid foliage, back foliage, and then limbs 1 and limbs 2. We may rearrange this stuff, and then let's go base trunk thickness, and roots. Let's grab all of these and move them up. I grabbed all of them for some reason. Oh, because of the parenting. Alright, so just down 1. And these should move up 1. Oops. No. Down there. And then this one needs to move up, but everything's going to move with it. So move this one back down. Now we should have it. Then we're going to go B for bones. Grab all of these and parent them over here. So now each one of them follows this move puppet or move character control mode. So now we want to put constraints on each of these, and I use the standard -70/70 when I'm doing my digital DNA. That gives me 141 variances on each of these bones, so that I can put them each in 141 different positions. We need to name them, so this is going to be foliage 1, DNA, and I'm going to do that to 2 others, so I'm just going to copy that so I don't have to type it again. Oh, it's not foliage 1 anyway. It's foliage front DNA. Yeah. And then foliage mid. I can still use what I copied because it only has 1 character here, so mid. And you see how much I miss? So that's why I copy paste, because I'm really clumsy due to my spinal implant, just so you understand. I've talked about it before. So, and this is back. So then we've got branches 1, Control C to copy. Go to this one, click on that, Control V for Victor, and paste, and then branches 2, DNA. Then top trunk, mid trunk, and bottom trunk, or roots. Let's do roots. It'll keep us reminded. We're going to go back to B for bone, and then we're going to go A, and we're going to have trunk color, and then each foliage will have a color option. So let's do it up here. So front foliage, mid foliage, and back foliage colors. Alright, so we need to name those bones. So this one is going to be trunk color. And let's go ahead and add DNA. Just makes it easier to identify. So front foliage color DNA. I'm gonna just copy that because it's so raw. And then add this one for mid. And then back. So let's double check, make sure we've got all of our bones named. Oh, we don't. Let's see, the trunk. Okay, so let's just grab all of these that are the trunk, and we're going to name them trunk core. And then that'll name them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is back foliage. Then we go mid foliage. And then front foliage, right? Yeah. Alright, and then we've got branch. We'll just use branch 1 and branch 2. The branch colors will change with the trunk colors. So we'll just use that 1 to change those colors. Let's add 2 more bones. And we're going to go here and here. And these will be to change the shape of the branches. That's not quite right on the position. There we go. So these will be shape of branch. Branch shape. Shape 2 DNA. Alright, so now let's check our bones. Every bone has got a name. We've got an extra letter B here we don't need. And check again. Looks like we're good to go. Now we need all these bones to be parented to the move bone. So now they all are. And we want to make sure they've all got the same constraints. So we need to go back into constraints and turn this off and back on. And now all of them have constraint. And we're going to do one more thing, and these are going to be marked as shy bones. So that means that once we've set them, we can make them disappear and they don't get changed during the animation. Unless you want to show them, then you can go in and say over here to bones and then show the shy bones, and then now we can see them. I think it's a good point to save our work. Let's go here. This will let me reposition them, and then they all fit within the tree proper. And let's go ahead and do my 3x3x3 lines instead of lining them up with the tree, because what they do is what matters, not where they're at. So let's bring this one up here. And remove all of our styles first. So we have to select each one and then delete it. And what this will do is change the tree. So it's definitely changing the personality of our tree and the branches. Then trunk 2 and delete. And because we've done such a drastic change to our character tree, let's save as, and we're going to give it an added number. So after the DNA, this is going to be version number 2. And we're going to save it. We're going to do an action for each of these bones that gives us our digital DNA effect. So we're going to create a new action here for our front foliage color, and we're going to tell it OK. We're going to start by rotating our bone all the way to the left. That's going to represent our first color option. And then we got to go to 141, because that's how many positions in degree we have here, because we go from -70 to 0 to 70. So when you add -70 to 70, you get 140. You take away the minus part, and then you have to add 0 for 141 positions. Now, we could change that to any number we wanted along here, and this would work. I could go to 200 to get 200 different positions. But when you think of it in degrees, it's easier to work with, and it gives us an exact number that we can calculate how many can we do of this. Alright, so there we've got our maximum, so we need to rotate this bone all the way to the right. So that gives us our range of colors. So at our first color, so let's turn off everything we're not looking at. So we're working on foliage back, right? Or is foliage front? Forget which bone I got. Front. We're doing front first, okay? So we'll turn off everything but the front foliage. That way we know we're dealing exactly with this group of objects. All right? So now we're going to select those objects for changing their color. So we need to go into the foliage group here. And so now you can see we can select each shape. And can we select them all at once? Oops. Let's see here. Yes, we can. So that means they will all change together as one singular object. Now, if you've watched my animation creations before, you know that for position 1 is for creating coloring pages, so that we can make coloring pages with each of these objects. So we want this to be black and white at this point. So we go into Style, and we simply select the black and white just as they currently are. And so now this position, you can see our colors are set for black and white. Now we also want a effect on the edges, because that doesn't look like tree leaves. So we can go in here and change our brush to one of these mini brushes that we've got here. We can also create our own brushes, but I'm just going to use these because they've done a great job. And I think I was using this one. So we can change the angle, how many effects go where. So I like to make this like a real tree. It doesn't just stay the same thickness through. So we're going to change the variance a bit there, about 30%. Size, we can do the same thing with that. So now I'm going to go OK. And so we've got our edges of our leaves now look more like a tree. We can change the size a bit to make it even more tree-like. There we go. So now we've got our base tree. So now we're going to go to number 2. And this is going to be greens, and it's going to be our lightest green. So let's go to our fill, and we're going to grab a green, and we can choose any color green we like. And let's go with this, and something like that. And then on the stroke, we want that to be darker. So again, we're going to go green, and you just pick a darker green that goes with what we've got there. So let's go with that. Again, these are light colors. Okay, now we're going to jump all the way to 141. Now where it's black now, we're going to make it a dark green. So we're going to grab one of these really dark greens here. And then on the fill, we're going to do the same. We're going to get a green, but we're going to make it a darker green. Let's go just barely above the darkness of the edges. Just like that. And I need to turn the grid off. I was just ignoring it, but yeah, let's get rid of the grid. So there we go. So now, if we move along our timeline, our tree colors change. Now I just realized, well, this doesn't show fall colors, and we're going to want to do that. So let's grab these dark colors here that we've got, and we're going to move those. 71 would be center. So let's go 108. So we'll get really dark at 108. And then for 141, let's move into fall colors. So we're going to grab the stroke here. And yeah, that's a pretty heavy brown. Let's go more red here. Yeah, so there we've got some red. And it can change to green. So it goes through some first turning brown and then red, which is kind of backwards actually. So let's move this red over here. So it'll jump from green to red, and then to 141. Where the leaves turn brown. So let's go a little bit lighter here on these reds. So this now should be the orange. And we can go with light oranges. So when they just first start changing, so we're going from green to an off green. So start there. Get to here, and we're going to want it to be more of an orange. So let's do this. And then into the browns. So we're still missing the right red. So let's go here, one back, right there, and then we're going to take these into the reds. That gives us a large variety of color changes for this tree. Now what I can do is copy that on the red line. We can do the whole thing, but the red line's all we need. And we're going to Control C to copy that. And then we're going to go to the bone layer and we're going to exit our action back to the main line. And now we can test. Oh, I didn't remove the strength off on those DNA bones. So let's do that. Let's select all these, get rid of the strength, because we don't want them affecting our tree at all for movement. So now we can test that first one. And as you can see, our green is already selected here because we're in the middle of our selector. So whatever this is the at rest state. So now we can move this bone and make the tree light green, dark green, or go into the fall colors. So there we go. So now we're going to do that for the other ones. So we're going to grab this one. We're going to create a new action for it. Mid-foliage DNA. You need to be on color mid here. Oh, hold on. First we rotate all the way to the left. Then we go to 141. Rotate all the way to the right. Then we go back to 1. And now we select the object. So we're going to turn off the front foliage, turn on the mid foliage. We're going to go to that layer. We're going to grab all of them as a singular object for color change. And we're going to paste those color changes. So we're at black and white at 1, and then go into the greens and variants. And voila. Now, because I don't want my default character to be identical to this one, I want, when everything's at midpoint, I want it to be different than the original. So all I'm going to do is grab this section of points, and I'm using Alt, and I'm going to drag, and that's going to drag them out and separate them from each other. So we're going to bring that down to, let's just go to 84 on this one. And then of course I want to make these next to each other. We don't want, well, let's leave it, see what happens. And I didn't get the stretch I wanted here, so I'm going to bring these on over here and bring these on over a little bit. So there we go. Now we're still using the same highest color and lowest colors, but and in the midway, but they're not going to happen at the same points on the timeline. And technically that means it's going to calculate a different color, because we do have 16 million colors that we're working with. But yeah, there should be a brush there for here. And again, and then go OK. And so now we check it. We should be able to move along the timeline and get different colors. And there we go. And because those are stretched out, we've got more fall colors for the midsection than for the back section. And then we go back out to the main tree. Oops. And we test our bones. Let's see here. We got to turn on our back foliage and my front foliage. And we went to set the action. There we go. So now we can go to manipulate these, and you can see that the two colors are different, but we can easily change anything we want. So we could say, oh, the tree's just starting to get into the ball, you know, or it's a lighter green, or it's a darker green. But this gives us our variations for colors on our tree leaves. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing for the third group. We're going to turn those two off. We're going to create a new, create a new action here. So back foliage. So, yeah, we're going to go to that layer. We're going to select all the objects in that group. And we're going to go to their styles, and we're going to paste. And again, we don't want it to be identical to the front. So we got the front, we got the mid. This is going to be the back. So let's stretch this out different. So grab all these. Let's leave the last one alone and hold and drag, holding Alt. Oops. Grab these, holding Alt and dragging. And that's good right there. And then we'll move these over a little bit this way. And move these over a little bit that way. So now we've got another set of colors that we're using and brush on it. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll use the same brush. Again, we'll change the numbers. They don't have to be the same. You want to make things look a little different in different places. So there we go. And now we go back to the tree, and we go back to the main line, and we select here. And we need to rotate this bone all the way to the left for 1, then go to 141 and rotate it all the way to the right. So now we've got our colors. And now we go back to the main line, go to the trees, and there. So now, yeah, when we're ready to manipulate, we can take it to black and white for coloring pages, or into the fall colors. And let's turn on the other foliages. So now we can make a very colorful and varied tree for any season. And each one of them is going to be different. This alone gives us millions of different variants that we can make for this tree. Alright, so now do the next bone, which is foliage front DNA. Okay, we're going to create an action for that. And the first thing we want to do is turn off the other foliages so we can only see the front one. Then we're going to rotate this bone all the way to the left, then go to 141, and rotate it all the way to the right. That gives us 141 changes from the far left to the far right. So on the far left, and in the center, we want to basically be our default. So let's do that first. So we're going to grab all the foliage, and we're going to grab those points. Let's just, there, moving them up and moving them down. Now I know they're all set for that position. So now we're going to go to 141, and we're just going to alter it. Let's say we're going to make all these gaps bigger. Whoops, not that much. We're going to make all these gaps much bigger. So we're going to move this other stuff around too, though. And what's great is Moho's going to do most of the work here for me. So I'm expanding all this right here, but Moho's going to do all the calculating of what goes on in between. So let's open this up and open this up. Now I can change the size of this magnet tool that I'm using by using the Alt key and dragging left or right. If you needed to do something like that. But let's also make these branches on the outer edge go out. So there, we've got a big change from 141 back to 71, which is our default. So remember, the center is where it looks like normally. And then we're going to go down to 1, and we're going to do the opposite of what we did. We're going to close up these holes. We want them to be practically or completely gone. So just do all that. And then we're going to bring in the edges because we moved them outward before. We're going to make this a younger, less full tree or group of foliage. Get some texture into the middle there. So there we go. We've got our extreme from one end to the other for the foliage, and that's the front foliage. So making those big gaps, we'll be able to see the leaves behind. Can we make another gap here? Right. There we go. There we go. Because we want to have very different looks, but it's still the same tree species, same kind of tree. There we go. So now it'll return to our default, or shrink down to that. Alright, so we'll exit out back to the main line. And turn on foliage. Well, no, we only want the front one that we were just working on. And there we go. Well, actually, let's turn on the back ones now. So yeah, now we can see creates a whole different tree. But this is our default right there, our ho-ho tree. So we go on to the next one. Grab this bone here. This is going to be the mid foliage. And there we go. So we jump back to 71. Looks great. We exit to the tree. We exit to the main line. Close this tree and test our DNA. So that doesn't look very good, but when we add the foliage of the other two, we can instantly create thousands of different trees, but it's basically the same species. Alright, so now we've got to do the branches 1 DNA. So let's turn off what we don't want to see. Turn on the branches. So again, we're going to create a new action. Going to rotate all the way to the left. Jump to 141. Rotate all the way to the right. Jump to 71. Grab everything for our branches. Oh, we need to be on the branches layer. So now we're going to grab all the branches, points. There we go. Hit T. Go in, just move them up and back down just to set where they're supposed to be now. Then at 141, we're going to expand them out. So we grab the magnet and we just start dragging things. So now we do want it to look like a tree when we're done, so you got to be careful about which points you're dragging. You have to go back and forth a few times, but as you can see, you can easily expand the tree and change its personality. Now we're stuck with these particular branches, so it's still going to look kind of like this, but we're getting a lot of variance here. That's going to be a little tricky there. There we go. we got going on here? Let's take some of these points one at a time. Oops. This one. Oh, that's why we got curves there. Okay. These should be on this side. Alright, so again, you know, we are limited to the points that we created when we made this tree originally. Just trying to figure out what I did here. I made a mess of things, what I did. So now we got our branches that go from that to that. So let's bring it all back to our main, to the tree. I need to keep double clicking that. I don't need to. Double click main line. Click on adjust bones. Turn on foliage front, foliage mid, and foliage back. So you can hardly see the branches. But we can move them and change their, which one is this one? So there we go. We're getting, they're black and white, so we're getting different ones, but let's go to lots of gaps. So with lots of gaps, we should see as much of the branches as we can. But because they're black and white, it's hard to see them compared to the background. Alright, so then we need to move on to the next one. And that's branch 2 DNA. Turn off everything but what we want. Go to that layer. Select everything. Hit T. Set. Oh, we need to do that at 71. Well, we didn't. Oh, we're at center on there. That's why I was thinking center. But yeah, we need to do this at 71. Alright, let's go back to the bone layer. Rotate the bone all the way to the left, which is what I should have done to begin with. Whoops. Undo that. We need to be at position 1 when we do that. And go to 141. Rotate all the way to the right. Go to 71. Now select our branch. Now pick up the point and move and set. That's our default position. So at 141 we will use the magnet and expand everything out. And there we go. So we got the minimum, the standard, and the maximum with 141 variations. Back to the main line, back to the tree line. I did it again. Grab the adjust. Let's turn on foliage and the branches. So now we can manipulate those branches and those branches. And the foliage and the foliage and the foliage. Let's go max, 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 and then branches and branches. So there we go. We got quite the variance on the tree. Definitely with colors. So the next bone is branch shape 1. Thought we just did that. Branches DNA. I don't think I need to do anything more with the branches. So I'm going to delete this bone and this bone. Oh, that's the top trunk. But did I have an extra branches bone? Branches 1, branches 2. And what was this one? Branches shape 1. I think I added an extra one. Oh, there's branch shape 2. So let's get rid of that bone and get rid of that bone. And that moves this bone to there. And then these two can just move up. Because it really doesn't matter what order they're being done in. Alright, so now this bone is the top trunk DNA. So we're going to turn on the trunk. Now this time we're not going to affect the whole trunk, we're just going to affect the top of the trunk. So we're going to create an action. So I need to be on the bone layer. There we go. That's why I wasn't seeing things. So top of the trunk DNA. So again, we're going to select the trunk, but this time we're only going to select the points that are the top of the trunk. So this up here. And that'll work. So we're going to select this and set them. So we move them up and move them down, and now they're set. That's the default setting. And we didn't do the bone, so let's rotate the bone all the way to the left for 1. Jump to 141 and rotate all the way to the right. Then go to 71. Then select the trunk. Then select those points. And now set them. Alright, so now they're set. And we're going to go to 141. So this will be the maximum. So at their maximum, let's bring that out there. We're going to bring this over here. Bring this over like that. Bring this like this. Bring like that. So there, we've got a much larger trunk. We'll bring those lines up like that. So that's the maximum. And then the minimum, bring that down like that. Grab the rest of these, hit T, and let's just shrink them. And then move them over where they were. And then bring this down, this down, this over, this over. So there's our minimum. So standard, and maximum. So we go back to the tree bone layer, go back to the main line, select our bone, and there we go. We make the tree branching out large and healthy, or sick and anemic. Okay, so now we're going to do the mid tree. Oh, that's trunk color, roots, and mid trunk. So let's move these back, move these around. Let's put the color last, and put this one over here. Alright, so now we're going to go with mid-trunk DNA, and okay. We're going to rotate the bone all the way to the left for position 1, jump to 141, and rotate all the way to the right, jump to 71, grab the trunk. We're going to grab what we didn't grab before, so we don't want to grab that top point right here, but we want to grab everything below that down to where the roots are going to go. So we'll go down to, yeah, we'll go right to there. So, whoops, not getting everything I want. Alright, so we're going to go right to there. That will be the mid tree. Hit T, set the points. Alright, so that's the set point. Then at 141, we're going to expand everything. So let's just stretch the sides like this. And then go in and clean this up a bit. We don't want to move the points that shouldn't be moved. We can move these. This is just the bark of the tree. And probably want it to expand outward a bit more. And then we're going to go to 1 and grab all that again. Everything from there to there. Hit T. And now I'm going to hold Alt and squeeze it inward. So we end up with a very skinny tree. Alright, and then back to normal. So you have fat or skinny trunk. Alright, now back to main line. Back to tree. And skinny or fat tree. Fat branches, branching out. Or it could be very skinny to branch out. So there we've got our tree, and let's just test it that these still work without any extreme distortion. Because they don't move much, there's not going to be much distortion, but there we go. We can see that everything's working as it should. So now we're going to go back to the select bone, and I'm going to get this one. This is going to be roots. So create an action. Okay. Rotate all the way to the left for position 1. And 141, we're going to go all the way to the right. At 71, we're going to grab the base of the trunk. So all these points that were not selected before. And we're just going to make sure they're set so that no matter what we do, we're going to come back to this. Alright, so now Alright, so now 141, we're going to have lots of roots. Okay, so we're going to take these extra points that I added earlier and bring out some roots. That's basically all we're doing. Okay, bring that around there, bring this over here. And there we've got our heavy roots. And we go back to 1. This is slightly different. What we're going to do is just bring these up like that so that we're creating basically roots at the small side. Bring this up to there. I don't want to move that. And bring that up to there. So there we go. So now back to normal, minimal, and maximum. Anything in between. So now we've got some roots, no roots, little bitty roots. All right, and now we go to the root color. Back to the main line. Select this, create a new action, trunk color. Rotate the bone all the way to the left. Jump to 141. Rotate all the way to the right. Now, in this case, we're going to go back to 1. And we're going to select the trunk. And we're going to select the object of the trunk. And everything with it. So let's just circle it. And now we're going to go to the styles, and we want to select black and white because we want to be able to create a coloring page color. Why is it not selecting? There we go. And same with black. Alright, so now we've set the black color, and then we want to also do the branches. So we're going to let's turn off the foliage so it's not in our way. And we can grab the branches. So we're in branches 1. We don't need to turn off the other branches. Let's see, I don't want lasso. There, that makes things easier. I thought, well, there we go. So there's branches 1. And, oh, we're going to make sure black and white. White. Black. And then we'll just grab branches 2 and do the same thing. Make sure we've got black and white. Alright, so now we're here. We go to actions and back to the main line. And now we can go dark or light or black and white for coloring. So let's turn on everything now. So let's add 2 more bones. So we need to be, select this bone, add, so add right here and right here. So this will be, let's turn on the grid and make it right. Alright, so we're going to put this one right there. Only too high. This one goes there. And then bone. Parent to here. Alright, and the left bone is going to be trunk up and down. It's not really up and down, but it's going to be how the bones move. And this is going to be trunk left and right. And we want to make sure we remove their strength. And then we're going to create the action. So, this is trunk up and down. Rotate it to 1. Oh, we didn't put constraints. So, it's constraints. Alright, now we go to 1. Jump to 141, move it all the way right, whoops, didn't want me to grow. Alright, so in the center is going to be these bones currently exactly where they're at. So we want to select each one of them and make sure we set their position. I'm going to add 1 more bone actually, I think. So we got, I'll do it afterwards. So this is right now up and down. So at the far right, what we're going to do is move, I'll turn the grid off. I'm going to move these bones away from each other, so it's going to make the tree taller. So there we go, maybe a little too tall. Let's bring it back down a bit here, so we're still in the scene, although there we go. So there's with it up, and then all the way to the left, we'll bring it down. So we're just going to take each of these bones and move it closer to the bone below it. So now we got a short tree. Go from short, regular to tall. Alright, so now back to the main line. The next bone. Let's turn the grid back on. And move this one to the left. And then we're going to add 1 more. And we want to make sure there's no strength on it. And we want to put constraints on it, as well as this one. Let's go ahead and create this one. So trunk left and right. And what I mean by that is it's going to rotate this all the way to the left. 141. Rotate it all the way on the right. And now what I'm going to do is move these bones. I'll turn the grid off. I'm going to move that one left, that one right, that one left, that one right. And then at the other extreme, this one right, this one left, right, and this one left. And you may think, well, that's really not making a big difference. And at 71, we want all those bones back to where they were originally. So select them, and reset, and reset, and reset. So now they're back to normal. Left to right, left to right. So there's some changes there. But the big change will come by using it with the left and right and up and down. So let's do that. Let's go in and grab the branch, the tool to manipulate and grow the tree, shrink the tree, rotate left and right. And this one is going to be distort trunk. Alright, so we're going to create a new action. Distort trunk, very good. And rotate all the way to the left. 141, all the way to the right. So how are we going to distort? Well, let's do it this way. Still needs to look like a tree, but I'm gonna over here. We're gonna distort it the other way. So that goes to the right, and this one goes to the left. And back to 71, you simply grab all these bones and reset them. Reset, reset, reset. So now, grow, shrink, twist, and distort. And they can all be used together. And we've got many different trees. Now, of course, since we can now create many different trees, we need to be able to recreate any particular tree. So to do that, we need to apply a numbering system, an identification system to this process. And the way I've done that in the past is with A, B, C, D, A1, A0 to A9, B0 to B9, and so on. And to do that, I have to set up a series of numbers. And instead of doing it all manually again and again and again, I'm just going to open a character that's already done that way. So we got ants, and every ant, and every yellow ant. What I want to do is copy the character ID group here. So I'm going to go up here and edit and copy layer. Then I'm going to go back into my background tree, and I'm going to go to above foliage, and I'm going to paste that layer. So now we have an identity layer. Eventually. There we go. Now I've colored each of these numbers because each of these bones are supposed to be colored. So we're going to go back to the bone layer, select, alright, so while I was editing the video for this tree, I decided I needed to add one more bone, and that is going to affect the size of the foliage, but I don't want to make it part of the DNA because it should be part of the tree life cycle, because the tree goes from having a little bit of foliage to a lot of foliage to it turning color. For some trees, but for this tree particular here. So I'm just going to add another bone to the tree structure here. So I'm going to select B for bone and then A to add. And let's put it over here to the right and about there. Let's turn the grid on. I know I want to get lazy and not have to deal with the grid, but let's go ahead and do it right. So we're going to set this to 80. Then I can put my bone in the right place and make it the right size, which is right there and like that. And we're going to name it, well, let's give it constraints, and it is going to be foliage size. So now when we move this bone, we're going to create a new action for it. Here. And when we've rotated it all the way to the left, that'll be no foliage, or as tiny foliage anyway. And at 141, it'll be extreme foliage. So now we can go into, let's close that up. We're going to go into foliage front here. So what I want to do is shrink them down individually. So let's take their scale to 1% and see what happens. They disappear practically, which is just what I'm after. Oh wait, I'm at large, so it should actually be the opposite. So let's go from 1% to 200%. There. So we want the scale here to be 200 by 200. Okay. That is extreme. Maybe I won't do every part. Just the ones that really stick out. And we could do fat by control copy. Now I can just paste it. Alright. I'm just going to go around select the edge ones first anyway. Because many of these are going to overlap each other when we're enlarged. So it may not matter if I don't enlarge all of them. I'm trying to grab the edges here. There we go. Grab some of these internal ones, and then we want to go to 71 where they should all be back to normal. Let's select them all, and then reset. There we go. And then for small, it's just going to be 1% on each part. And that's going to be all of them. We go to manipulate our tree, and now we can change the amount of foliage. And I'm thinking that we should take it all the way to 0 at the far extreme. We should be able to turn it where we've only got the tree trunk left. So let's go back into foliage. And what we've got at 1, we're going to move to 2. So just like we do black and white with the colors at 1, and then do the actual colors from 2 onward, here we're going to do something similar where we have everything from 2 onward, and then at 1 we'll just have them all be invisible. So maybe that would be the easiest, is just to go in and visible, apply, and then go to 2 and turn it back on and apply. So there it's off. I think. Did I get it backwards? Yeah, there. And then off. Alright, and then same thing with mid branches. Just turn them not visible until frame number 2, and then they become visible. And foliage front, same thing. Apply for visibility, go back one space, and turn it off. No, it doesn't work that. You have to do one after the other. There we go. So now, the tree and the main line. There we go. Now we can change the color of the trees. Whoops. Let's see. Here we go. Foliage color. So we could take a tree from being bare to being full. Okay, so once I worked with this a little bit, I decided to come back and just clean it up a bit. This is sticking up way too high here at the top, making it look really silly. And this bottom's a little bit big, so I'm going to bring it up. Because we do want to see the other layers there. So we can go full season with our tree now. So that's the final tree, I think. And I think we'll do all of our trees on this same basic layout basis. So even with the distortion of the trunk, by using this pattern over here, we can still control exactly what the tree is going to do. And that means we can copy paste and bring it through to another tree. So if we have another tree that's made from this puppet, we can copy paste activities from it to another one. So let's see what we're getting here. Yeah, there we go. We got a tree swaying in the wind. Alright, so let's clear all the animation from the entire document. There's our base tree. Go to the construction layer and let's save, and this is version number 3. So there we have it. There is our tree puppet. We can now produce octillions of different trees and have them either colored or not, leaved or not, whatever we need. Thanks for watching. Hit that like, hit subscribe, share this with others. Tell others about Danger Aware. We do need help. People donating to help us do what we do. So there we go. You have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
A stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm. Watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that Danger, danger. Danger, danger, could be a stranger.